Am I the only one surprised by a symposium on gamification in 2016? Did we in academia miss the boat? Were we too slow to acknowledge change and innovation? Surely not. So what do you think? How old is gamification? The earliest example I found was playing Go to learn military strategy in China around 475 BCE. Another example is in early Soviet Russia, where factory workers competed against each other for points and banners. In our consumer society, we have moved from tangibles to intangibles to pure bragging rights. And yet, despite this long history, and with 80,000 educational apps in Apple's App Store, gamification is still presented as something new. Scientific American seems stuck in a recurring imminent future, condemned to repeat variations of the same headline, like other perennial stories. What does more serious research say about the effectiveness of digital games in learning? At best, the results are inconclusive, and in many cases, games alone are not the most effective. A rare longitudinal study found that games actually led to negative outcomes, perhaps as the novelty wore off. So why are we so unquestioning of the value of gamification? The reason is we want it to be true. It's fun for us as teachers and designers. We get to be creative and playful, collaborate in open-ended, passionate discussions with friendly, supportive and smart people. I'd love to work on that, wouldn't you? I'd learn so much. Instead, what do we get? Chocolate-covered broccoli. The idea that you can hide the stuff you know is good for them under something you know they like. Maybe some foodies would like it, with organic edamame beans and ancient grains, but most people's reaction would be, ew. Distinctions between what is educational and what is fun are arbitrary. The theme can be a lure, but any theme can be engaging. Think of top games like Farmville. It's not the theme that made it successful. So don't start with restricting design to educationally validated themes. The easiest target to criticize in learning games is the superficial use of points, badges and leaderboards, designed badly, and they can actually be strongly disincentivizing. Motivation is based on how much learners value the goal and how likely they think they are to achieve the goal. And when the task is more complicated and requires conceptual, creative thinking, simple incentives just don't work. Improved performance and personal satisfaction stem from feelings of autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Game designers accept that graphic and audio improvements are inevitable, and while the trend in some games is to become more realistic, it doesn't determine the success of a game. Is chess still popular because its pieces are so lifelike? The challenge for designers is to enable emotion, purpose, and feeling. A common critique of traditional learning is that the teacher tells students what she already knows, instead of allowing the student to learn it himself. Rather than waste time on creating a perfect storyline, set up an ecosystem in which players can create their own stories. The goal is intrinsic integration. That is, when the mechanics of the game mesh tightly with the content the game is trying to teach. This learning game, Historia, was originally done with pieces of paper. One kid said, "The best part is you get to create your own history." When done badly, gamification is just a crude application of behaviorist principles, a Skinner box. In contrast, socially situated learning theory recognizes that most higher learning occurs through social interaction between a master and an apprentice by modeling, coaching, scaffolding, and fading. In many games, the first experience with the game is a kind of onboarding, with a video demo of the basic movements, modeling. Then in the following levels, each move is guided with hints or tips for each new competency to master, scaffolding, then fading in full gameplay. As working professionals, we know that performing as a competent manager or cybersecurity expert is not just about reciting facts, but becoming that role and being accepted by a community of peers through authentic social interactions in complex, messy, real-world situations. In James Paul G's words, learning is a cycle of probing the world, doing something, reflecting in and on this action, and on this basis forming a hypothesis, reprobing the world to test this hypothesis, and then accepting or rethinking the hypothesis. We live in a world of dismal, low-quality interactions. Can you remember the last time you really enjoyed going to a big box store, bank, or even the gym? Or try calling a utility company? Improving well-being requires more high-quality interactions, and the same goes for learning interactions. So remember when I got you excited about designing a game? A good check on the effectiveness of your design is to ask, will the game offer the same potential for engagement and passion as you experienced in designing the game?